And then there were other times over the last 6 to 7 years that I was like, this is never going to happen.
Yeah.
Max and Conor are just not going to cross paths again.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though it always made sense and it was always there, like it kind of felt like it wasn't going to happen. But other times it's like, oh yes, it's definitely going to happen.
Let's say we see Conor of old come back, like huge, muscly, 170, feeling himself. He's a nightmare for anyone. He's got some of the, like in his prime, his striking would have been the best in the UFC.
And the last thing I wanted to ask you about is Conor McGregor. What do you make of his comeback?
Conor doesn't need to fight. He has everything. And I respect the fact that he's coming back to fight.
You know, people think that Max is just going to walk for him from the start. It ain't going to be that easy. He's going to have big problems early, and I think Max is going to give him that respect and not let him land them big shots. So maybe we don't see him be as successful as he could be.
2013, and I know he told it.
You want my opinion? I think he's favored. If he comes into Conor, then I think he's going to come in.
Really? Break that down for me. Why, man?
Well, because he's a better boxer. He's got more power, you know. And Max Holloway has already been taken out by Topuria, and I don't see Conor not being able to replicate that. And it's not going to go to the ground. It's going to be a stand-up fight.
But what does it feel like for you to sit here and know that it's Conor McGregor fight week?
I felt the same, you know. Before you came, I had to do the little media scrum. And I thought, everybody was like, bro, 13 years. Like, did you ever think Conor McGregor fight was going to happen? I was like, yeah, I thought it was going to happen, but like 5 years ago, you know what I mean? Like, especially after that horrible leg break and him coming back. But it just proves that he's a fighter, man.
And the last thing I wanted to ask you about is Conor McGregor. What do you make of his comeback?
Conor doesn't need to fight. He has everything. And I respect the fact that he's coming back to fight so much because it shows that he's a fighter in his heart. You know, me, I got to a certain level and I decided to walk away. You know, Conor, he's back. And it just shows how much he loves the sport. It shows that he's still that fighter despite having so much success. I'm rooting for him. I'm proud of him. And I think he's just great, man. The businessman that he's been for our sport, you know, he teaches fighters that we can be more than just fighters.
You know, people think that Max is just going to walk for him from the start. It ain't going to be that easy. He's going to have big problems early, and I think Max is going to give him that respect and not let him land them big shots. So maybe we don't see him be as successful as he could be. I'm going to have to go Max Holloway for the win. Can it be a finish? 100%. If Max gets you tired, he's so good at going in for the kill. And he's even getting much better in the pocket. Even you've seen him. Justin Gaethje here, firing bombs. You know what I mean? Like still being able to dodge the punches in the amongst that sort of brawl. So it's I think it's just going to be too much for Conor.
2013, and I know he told it.
You want my opinion? I think he's favored. If he comes into Conor, then I think he's going to come in.
Really? Break that down for me. Why, man?
Well, because he's a better boxer. He's got more power, you know. And Max Holloway has already been taken out by Topuria, and I don't see Conor not being able to replicate that. And it's not going to go to the ground. It's going to be a stand-up fight. And I just look at the power is on Conor's side. The boxing IQ is on Conor's side. You know, the only problem is Conor going to show up? If Conor shows up, I actually favor him 3-1. My opinion. Not saying Max doesn't have a chance, because that'd be baloney, because look what he did to Gaethje.
Let's say we see Conor of old come back, like huge, muscly, 170, feeling himself. He's a nightmare for anyone. He's got some of the, like in his prime, his striking would have been the best in the UFC. Like I think his timing and combos and eyes were just sensational. So I think that version of Conor is very dangerous for anyone. But are we going to get that version? Who knows? And seeing Max at 170, I don't know what that's going to look like either. You know, I think he looks great at 155. last time, but now this is another step up. Conor's obviously been moving around at 170 for a while now, so I think he's much more comfortable in that weight division.
Since Conor last fought 5 years ago, and by the way, Max Holloway has fought 7 times since then. But it's not just the age of McGregor, who will be 38 in July. It's not just the time off, right? This isn't George St. Pierre coming back from 5 years of heavy training in his retirement to move up to middleweight and capture the title. This is a McGregor who has been all over the headlines for both good and bad reasons over those 5 years, has gone through a lot physically. And we're not even talking about has his game evolved along with it. Look, he's a human reality show. Love him or hate him. When he fights, we all tune in for so many reasons, and I can't wait for this rematch.
Fair play to him. That is the life that he's built. But he's coming back, right? And Max Holloway, as we know, has been very, very active. I mean, geez Louise, when we look at the record of Max Holloway, yes, he lost his last one in January for the BMF belt to Charles Oliveira. Didn't really get beaten up though, just kind of got taken down, had his back taken, defended the whole time. But Charles Oliveira did take the belt. Before that, beat Dustin Poirier, the person that beat Conor McGregor last time. The person that knocked out Conor McGregor the fight before that. Now, when you look at McGregor, as we know,
I'm inspired right now by Conor McGregor, and I don't think there's very many famous elitist millionaires that could inspire me, but he's tackling something big here. First off, that's the worst injury that I've ever seen. I've seen 3 other guys have it, but I've never seen an injury worse than this. He's returning to a weight class outside of his prime, which historically has never worked out successfully, even in the boxing world. And ultimately, he's signed up to do 5 rounds. Which in the best of days, when he could train and he had no injuries and he could push through and do whatever he wanted, was hard for him to do. So, I mean, it's kind of insurmountable. And that's before we start talking about where is he training? Why am I hearing that his training camp is in Ireland, but I see him on The Tonight Show, which is filmed out of California 2 days ago? I'm skeptical to the whole thing. I'm confident he's going through with this. I'm confident he will make the walk. But there's parts of me that are inspired by a guy willing to do that.
I think Max is going to beat him. But I just don't know what Conor's going to come back. It's been so long. I don't know how he's healed up. If his athleticism, his timing, his movement is the same as it was before, for sure he can beat Max, but I just don't know what he's going to look like. It's been too long.
Do you miss seeing Conor come back? Like, do you miss seeing Conor talking?
Bro, I don't even want to hear his voice, honestly.
I didn't even understand what the fuck he's saying, bro.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was hard to hear.
Have we had anybody come back after 5 years and look good?
I can just never underestimate Conor. It would be foolish for anybody to underestimate him. He's a special athlete. He's a special martial artist. There are things that he can do, pressure that he can handle that most other people can't even imagine. On the other side, Max Holloway, of course, he's a stud of a fighter, and he's been in the game, and he's been consistent over all of these years, and of course that has its positives, but it also has its negatives as well, right? The last time they fought was so long ago. Max practically looked like a young boy, and he still gave Conor one of his toughest tests in his early UFC career. There's a lot of footage on Max Holloway now, though, and Conor does his research. And there are a lot of patterns in Max Holloway's game, and they've not changed a great deal over the years. In fact, if anything, he's become more comfortable in those patterns because they've become very successful.
And then last one for me, obviously there was a talk from the very first moment this fight was announced. You were very outspoken against your old organization, the UFC, and Hunter Campbell. I don't know if you know, but it seems like there was a little bit of gamesmanship on their part tonight. They announced Conor and Max rematch during Francis Ngannou's walkout. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's kind of catty. But it also shows that, that they see MVP MMA as a threat, that they would do it in that moment and spend and do it at that time. So I feel like it's also a compliment because it elevates MVP MMA and makes they're declaring that they see us as a real rival. And I think that's such a compelling story, and now they're helping us tell it.
Ronda Oscar Willis with MacLife. Part of this story for this